Hello, welcome back to the Under 35 project. It's been really exciting here on the site for the last several months. We've covered a lot of topics like sex and dating, work, social action, gardening, deepening your meditation practice. And this month we're looking at how to be alone and how to be together. And before we dive into the different types of loneliness, I actually wanted to make something of a distinction, which is the distinction between being alone and loneliness. Because there are times where you can be alone, but you don't actually feel lonely. And I'm reminded of, I spent a number of weeks in retreat at this point throughout my life. And there are times where you may experience loneliness in retreat, but by and large, the process of being on your own in a cabin, cooking for yourself, spending time with yourself, going for walks, practicing meditation, is all the process of what in the Tibetan tradition is Gom, G-O-M. And this is normally translated as meditation, but a more direct translation of Gom is become familiar with. So this process of being alone in a meditative container is the process of becoming familiar with yourself. So it's not loneliness, because you're always with yourself. In some sense, you're your own best company. But you are alone in actually the fact that you're the only person who can deal with your own mind. You're the only person. So the practice of meditation, to take on the title of Sakyam Mipam Rinpoche's book, is a process where we're turning our mind into our ally. We're befriending ourselves. We're actually learning to be alone by examining what it is that makes us tick. So that's the sense of being alone, which I think is much different than the sense of loneliness. Loneliness, in my mind, has more of a yearning quality to it. You are home on a Friday night and you're thinking, why didn't I get invited out to parties tonight? Why don't I have something special to do? I yearn to be with other people. I yearn to have that energy of going out. Or you might be single and you yearn to be with a romantic partner. That's something that you long for. So when we do feel loneliness, one thing that we might want to consider is what it is that actually makes us have that feeling. Because it's not that we don't have enough friends or we aren't attractive enough to gain a partner or something like that. It's the fact that we haven't learned, really, how to be comfortable with ourselves, how to be alone. In some sense, I would say some of my best nights on a Friday night would be just staying in and doing the things that I enjoy doing. Because I've slowly learned that it's okay to be alone. And that's actually wonderful, that we can relish that. So looking at why we're lonely in any of these given states is important in order to really explore that sense of yearning, that sense of grasping in some sense. It is that lens of passion, aggression, and ignorance that we constantly put on ourselves. In some sense, we have, if you've ever seen the like old mobster movies or something like that, they have a bunch of guys sitting around a table and they decide to play Russian roulette, where essentially they put a bullet in one chamber of a gun and they pass it around. They each hold it up to their head and click. And ideally, they don't bite it, and it goes on to the next person. And it's this like real ballsy game of Russian roulette. I think we actually play Russian roulette with ourselves all the time. The only difference is that we actually fully load our gun with like a passion bullet, an aggression bullet, an ignorance bullet. We just don't know what we're going to have come out, but we are constantly holding that to our head and hitting click. I want you, I don't want you, I am going to ignore you. This is the game we play with ourselves. In some sense, we're holding ourselves hostage, putting that gun to our head. So learning to be comfortable with loneliness is actually learning to be comfortable with groundlessness, is learning to be comfortable with anxiety, is all these different aspects of passion, aggression, and ignorance that we need to really examine and learn to work with. That is a valuable part of our path. That is the distinction between being alone and loneliness. It's actually, can we see through our loneliness to the point of, oh, I know why I'm like that, and I'm comfortable being alone. There are other elements of this month's topic, like being together. Sometimes you might feel alone even if you're in a committed relationship. You may feel times where you're on your own. Sakya Mipam Rinpoche also said at one point, loneliness doesn't have to go away if we're surrounded by people. So we could be in a bar out with all of our friends, and we could still feel lonely. Or we could go out to a bar on our own and have a drink by ourselves and feel completely connected to everything there. The difference is our frame of mind. So how can we cultivate a frame of mind that is based in being comfortable with who we are? That is the path that we should explore. How can we be comfortable being together, being alone? In some sense, there are still inverses of passion, aggression, and ignorance. Both of these scenarios of being alone and being together. So how can we free ourselves from holding ourselves hostage in that way? Holding that gun to our head, where we don't know how to work with these strong emotions. And it is, of course, that path of meditation that's so helpful in these cases, where we are learning to become familiar with ourselves, where we are learning to really love ourselves. And when we do love ourselves, we're never really alone. So thank you for watching the video, for submitting something. We're getting higher traffic every month, so it's really exciting to see all the amazing submissions that are coming in. And I also want to throw out that here in New York, at this very Shambhala center that I'm currently sitting in, there is a one-week meditation program where people will be sitting together on their own for a solid week here at the Shambhala Center in Chelsea. So if you're here that week of August 11th through the 17th, please feel free to come by. I'll be here for a lot of that. And we'll also be tweeting on the Under 35 Project. So if you're on Twitter, you can just follow @Under35Project. And you'll see that we'll be giving you guys updates. So that if you're at home and you want to connect in with the people that are sitting here, we'll tell you when they'll be sitting and you can join in from afar. So in that sense, we'll all be together, even if we're not actually physically in the same room. Okay, hope you're able to join us for some sitting. Hope you're able to submit, and I'll talk to you soon.